Welcome to North Yorkshire Rugby Club News. Going around different people who are involved with rugby, I'm going to speak to Eleanor Schofield, who's a sports therapist. She's based in Ripon, knows about rugby, but she's looks after Ripon Football Club. So Eleanor, just tell me how you trained to be a sports therapist. Where did you go and what did it incur?
So I trained for 3 years at Leeds Beckett University in Leeds, doing a degree in sports and exercise therapy with them.
Right, so whilst you were at university, what did you go out to other sports club and train whilst you were doing it, or was it all desk work? In other words, did you go out and do other work?
Yeah, very, very far from desk work. You do a mix, so you don't really have the traditional lectures.
Yeah.
You have basically a big clinic room with lots of clinic beds, if you've seen that, and then you'll have your PowerPoint screen. They'll kind of go, we're doing this today or whatever, run through a bit of the theory, right, get into pairs, get into groups, go and try it on your partner,
right,
and so on. And then you have to do, you're essentially legally bound in order to have your degree accredited to do a certain number of placement hours,
right,
as a minimum, and you have to go and source your own placements in different teams, different clinical environments to obtain those. I did quite a lot of mine with Bradford Park Avenue Football Club. With that, did a little bit with West Bowling Rugby Club, because they trained at the same ground. On the same evening. So did a little bit with them, mostly within football and working with BPA.
Right. So you came out of university and you started straight away at Ripon with Cathedral Osteopaths.
Yeah.
Have I said that right?
Yes,
I get tongue twisted sometimes. So, and then you started with Ripon Football Club.
Yes.
Do you go down there just for matches, or do you go down for training as well, or is it just the training?
Mainly training. So as a clinic, Cathedral Osteopaths sponsor Ripon Football Club, and as it's our degrees, if you're a sports therapist, your degree's kind of split in the sports trauma side of things,
right?
Very based in a sports environment with a team normally, and then you have the other half that is more clinical based. So it obviously depends which avenue you choose to go down. For a lot of people, I kind of had the joy of having the opportunity to do a mix.
Right.
Because we sponsor them, it allowed me to go down. So I used to do. I've just about to go on my maternity leave. Wednesdays their training night, so I would go down and do like a triage with any injuries, soft tissue work, all of that, like you would see in a rugby club as well.
So is the qualifications that you need to do the football, is it different qualifications that you need to do with rugby?
Slightly.
Because it's different impacts.
Yes, yeah. So it comes down to the regulations of the governing bodies, essentially. So, and it has recently changed, I believe, and it also depends on the level that you're playing at. So certainly to any higher level, from any semi-pro onwards, you have to have additional qualifications to your degree, essentially. And that, I think, comes into play because it means that everyone who is working within a sport has the same, not necessarily knowledge base, but that they have that same qualification to refer back to. So with football, you have your ITMIF, which, you have your ITMIF level 4, and you have to do that. Most of the courses are at King George's Park, St George's Park, sorry. So you have to do that. Now, I believe they've changed it with rugby. If you're a sports therapist or a physiotherapist coming into rugby, you have to have your ITMIF level 4.
Yeah.
Then that qualifies you to do your rugby equivalent, which is your ITMOF. So it's basically, rather than in football, it's in the field of play, and they're very similar as far as I'm aware. I've not personally done either of them, because I've not been working in an environment where I've needed to be trained to that level. But it's basically the equivalent to, so it goes over, you do it's what all in rugby, it's what your doctors do, your pitchside doctors, any nurses that come on, paramedics, physiotherapists and sports therapists, all have to have that. But in order to do that as a sports therapist or a physiotherapist, you have to have your ITMIF first. So it's changed a little bit confusing.
It sounds very confusing. So
yeah, that's the base of it, really.
Yeah. I mean, when I was playing, might have been an old doctor stood on the side watching the pitch. So, and long gone of those cold sponges were brilliant, you know. You just run with a bucket on, or a lemon and orange, something like that, and so you still got better. Icy cold water. So, when you've been doing your football, I mean, it would mostly be strains and probably broken legs, I would think.
Touch wood, no broken legs. Previously, yes, but not not when it's been my full responsibility to deal with it.
So what's the majority of injuries in football then?
Lots of hamstrings. Hamstring strains. You can have something called a tendinopathy. So it's like irritation of the tendons if you've been working quite hard on that particular muscle. Hamstrings are generally a bit of a trouble area for footballers. Yeah. Groins, and we have your muscles coming down, just down from your hip flexors. Yeah. Right. They tend to get quite tight. If you think about the action of kicking a ball frequently, you're using those muscles a lot and very repetitively. And then you get your classic, the same as rugby, slightly less frequently normally if the rules are being abided by, a little bit more maybe in lower league. Head injuries, stud injuries, so
I mean, rugby's very keen on head injuries.
Yes.
Now, we just had a bad bump on our heads, but I mean, I know a lad he got concussion 3 times last year, and they actually told him he could continue playing this year, but he's decided not to.
Yeah.
It's 3 strikes and out.
There's a lot more knowledge about concussions and the long-term impact. Alan Shearer has a really good, his book, and he's been really good in raising awareness within the FA. Yeah.
Because heading the ball is...
Yeah, so heading the ball is a big one. And then you obviously have your more classical acute injuries from head injuries, but collisions, all of that lovely stuff.
If they get injured, do they come back here for treatment, or do you just treat them down there? They come down every Tuesday and have treatment.
It depends. So on a Wednesday night, there's a lot of people to get through in a short space of time from when they start training, because at Ripon, obviously, it's a local club. Yeah. Everyone's coming over from work, and it's kind of what you can get in before training, essentially. So if I think someone needs a little bit more detailed work, or we need to do exercise work, obviously there's the odd occasion that someone might just come down and not actually be training. We've got a little bit more time. But typically, if they need a little bit more, they would come into the clinic and have some more kind of one-on-one time working on that together.
Well, thanks for giving us that insight to a side of the rugby or any sport that we don't really notice, only when you run on the pitch or something like that. And it's been interesting, so thanks a lot.
That's right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.